I welcome you all in the online refresher course in chemistry hosted by Department of Chemistry, Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. On behalf of Dr. Jagdish Joshi, Professor Director UGC HRDC, and Dr. Dilip Wasawa, Assistant Professor, Refresher Course Coordinator, Department of Chemistry, Gujarat University. I am Nikita Mishra from Department of Chemistry, Gujarat University. Welcome you all in the session of Dr. Charulata Dubey, Assistant Professor, School of Nanosciences, Central University of Gujarat, Gandhinagar, India. In her academics, Dr. Charulata Dubey completed graduation from Ajamgarh and post-graduation from Gorakhpur. She has completed her MTech and doctorate degree from Indian Institute of Technology, New Delhi. In her research work, the thrust area includes development of advanced material for water purification, stimulation of radiation damage in nuclear fission and fusion materials by employing surrogate method of ion radiation, characterization of ion beam induced radiation damage, nanotechnology, microprocessing of materials. She is also an independent international collaborator with radiation damage study in iron phosphate glasses and zirconolite glass ceramics, Germany, stimulation of alpha damage of iron phosphate glasses, CEA, France, stimulation of damage caused by decay of nuclear waste glasses, IUAC, Delhi. In her research contribution, she has 21 research publications and 7 conference proceedings in various national and international conferences. Additionally, she has 6 technical reports, 3 book chapters and 2 ongoing projects. She has given more than 20 invited talks in various workshops, webinars, seminars and conferences. She has presented and attended a conferences and workshops more than 30. Presently, she was involved in teaching of masters and PhD students. She also took several lectures of material selection and properties for different applications. Visiting faculty of Nanotechnology Education and Research Center, NERC, India. Guest lecture in Delhi University. Guest lecture at Central University, Gandhinagar. Provided teaching assistant for BTech Physics laboratory classes. In her achievements, 100% financial international travel support from DST India to attend conference at USA. Represented IIT Delhi in Japan as a part of JENES 2008. Best Poster Award in Open House Competition, IIT Delhi. Highest CGPA Award for 2005 PG batch in IIT Delhi. First runner-up in MTech at Department of Physics, IIT Delhi. National eligibility test conducted by CSIR Government of India in 2004. Cleared joint entrance screening test by DAE Government of India in 2003. Graduate aptitude test in engineering GATE conducted by MHRD Government of India in 2003. Apart from this, she has computer skills and programming languages experience, COBOL, Pascal, C, C++, and various softwares. She has editorial experiences as a reviewer for Ceramic International, Journal of Alloys and Compounds, Journal of Fusion Science and Technology, Journal of Radioanalytical and Nuclear Chemistry. She has professional membership as a lifetime member of Society for Material Chemistry, lifetime member of Powder Metallurgy Association of India, lifetime member of Ion Beam Society of India, lifetime member of Plasma Science Society of India. She is also expertise in various instrument handling like scanning tunneling electron microscope SAM-TEM, vibrating magnetometer at low and high temperature, FTIR, UV visible and Raman spectroscopy, XRD machine and LCR meter. She has completed 2 projects. She has contributed as a resource person in more than 10 courses. She has also contributed in professional development courses and workshops. In her research supervision, 2 MPhil and 2 PhD has completed and 3 PhD are ongoing. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Dr. Charulata Dubey. I am employed in School of Nanosciences, Central University of Gujarat. Today I will be talking about microwave chemistry and its applications. So in moving forward, the magic of microwave heating technique is termed as a Bunsen burner of the 21st century. It has emerged as a very valuable alternative technique in the synthesis of organic compound, polymers, inorganic materials, and nanomaterials. So moving forward, first I'll be giving a very brief intro to microwave assisted synthesis and its superiority over other techniques. Then I'll be discussing types of material and interaction of microwave with material. And then I'll be discussing few examples from my research work and from others' work as well. So the very first thing, microwaves are electromagnetic radiation, and in fact here you can see they are coupled ENH field, This is the coupled ENH field. They propagate in the direction perpendicular to the direction of propagation. So here you can see microwave occupies this range near this 2.45 I have highlighted here. So microwave lies in the range of 3 to 300 gigahertz range. In addition, this lies between the radio wave and IR frequency range. So there are kind of range of frequency, but Federal Communication Commission has allocated two frequency, mainly 2.45 gigahertz and 0.915 megahertz for scientific, industrial and medical applications. Now, why this frequency has been chosen for the material purpose or any other application? Because in this range, microwaves can cause transitions between rotational energy and thereby enable molecule to absorb the microwaves. Moving further, now I'll be coming to the heating. What is the origin of the heating of the materials due to the microwave? Here I'll be discussing different kind of materials. So first I'll be start with the dielectric or magnetic material. So heating of dielectric or magnetic material depends on the complex permittivity or permeability. The main factor is loss factor, which is denoted by tan delta E or tan delta M. Basically, this loss factor quantifies a material's inherent dissipation of electromagnetic energy in the form of heat. So, we can define electric loss tangent in the term of very shortly, complex permittivity can be defined as a epsilon dash minus I epsilon double dash. So, electric loss tangents can be defined as a epsilon double dash divided by epsilon dash. In fact, it signifies the material's ability to absorb the energy and lose its heat inside the matrix. Similarly, permeability, complex permeability, that is mu star is equal to mu dash minus I mu star. Here tan delta M can be defined as mu double dash divided by mu single dash, that is magnetic loss tangent. So different material is having different electric loss value or magnetic loss factor. Here I have given a table which shows value of tan delta for different solvent. So whenever we are going for synthesis, organic synthesis or inorganic synthesis, we need to select some solvent. So from the list of solvent, we should select solvent which is having high value of tan delta, like EG, that is having tan delta value 1.3, and similarly water is also good absorber, and DMSO also good microwave absorber. So accordingly we should select solvent for synthesis. Then moving forward, I'll be coming to the skin depth. This is one more very important concept in microwave chemistry or application and its applications. So we can define skin depth as here you can see the point at which amplitude of field E or H field come to its value of 1 by E. This depth is known as a skin depth, and if we go for its kind of numerical value, this can be given as this is denoted by delta and can be written as under root epsilon, that is resistivity, rho divided by resistivity divided by pi is a constant, f is a frequency of electromagnetic wave, and mu is a permeability of the material. So in this way, skin depth depends upon the resistivity of the material, that is rho, and then frequency of the microwave radiation and the permeability of the material. So skin depth is again materials dependent property. So if we want our material should be good absorber, so we should select materials accordingly. It's having proper resistivity as well as permeability. So moving further, here I'll be explaining what is the mechanism. So in any material, there can be some dipole or magnetic dipole, electric dipole. So when microwave passes through the sample like this, so this dipoles trying to align themselves in the direction of the electromagnetic field, external electromagnetic field. So in this process, they collide with each other, and due to this resistive heating, material gets heated up. Suppose if it is dielectric material, so these are the electric dipole. If it is magnetic material, so basically they are magnetic dipole. So this is basic fundamental mechanism for the microwave heating of the materials. Then what happens in the conducting material like graphite? Graphite is having pi electron. So graphite is basically sp2 hybridized carbon atoms are there, and they are held together by weak van der Waals forces. So in the graphite, these free electrons are there. So they try to follow the direction of the applied microwave field. In this process, they collide with each other, and due to collision, they generate heat. This is known as a Joule heating also. Very famous Joule heating. Now, I'll be coming to the microwave energy absorbed by the material. It kind of denoted here by capital P. Omega is the frequency of applied radiation, and epsilon zero permittivity of free space, and then epsilon double dash, that is dielectric loss factor, and it represents loss tangent as well. Then E square is E is intensity of electric field, plus mu zero is permeability of free space, multiplied by mu double dash, that is it is related to the magnetic loss factor, how the magnetic dipole will react to the applied field. Then H square, similarly as E, it is intensity of magnetic field. So overall, the microwave heating is very much specific to material. This is material dependent property. Same setup, same everything, but if you change the material, entire heating profile will change. So we have to select our material or solvent very carefully whenever we are working with the microwaves. Now there are very few characteristics of microwave processing. Microwave processing is a very broad term. It includes low as well as high temperature applications. So today we will be taking example from all the fields. So microwave chemistry is a subdomain of microwave processing. Microwave processing is very broad term, and microwave chemistry is a subdomain. So I'll be focusing more on the microwave chemistry today. So the very first thing in conventional heating, if you can see here that outer here, if you see, if it is your microwave material, so inside out surface cooler than core. Core is very high temperature. Why? Because this core, this material volume itself is acting as a source of heat. So that's why volume of the material is at high temperature. However, it's being radiated from the volume to kind of core to the surface. Surface is at lower temperature as compared to core. So this is again one important thing which we should notice. However, in conventional heating, heat is transferred from the heating element to the material, and this is kind of limitation of the conventional heating because this IR is having very small penetration, kind of 10 to power minus 4 meter. So in conventional heating, it takes longer time to heat the sample or to thermalize the sample temperature. However, in microwave, since material itself acts as a source of heat, so it is very efficient in that way, energy wise also and time wise also. So further, if we move forward and we look over the microwave absorption behavior of materials at frequency of 2.45 gigahertz, here on y-axis this P quantity is plotted, that is microwave absorption density, and then for different materials, first one is high absorbing materials are ferrites, Fe3O4, chromium oxide, because they are having magnetic dipole. Then second category is good microwave absorber. Here good absorber are some carbide like silicon carbide, some oxide, zirconia oxide, titanium oxide, and then reduced oxide, and some powder metals also. Then moderate, if we come to the moderate absorber, this is titanium oxide or zirconia oxide pure or titanates also. Then we will come to the poor absorber. It includes silica, yttrium oxide, alumina oxide, etc. Now let's come to the another very interesting feature of the microwave heating, that is anisothermal heating. What does mean by anisothermal? Since as I mentioned, this microwave is very material specific. Suppose your sample is having two different kind of phases or material. One is very good absorber. Let's say this T1 is this orange or yellowish is very good microwave absorber, so it will acquire higher temperature. However, T2 is not that good absorber, it's a moderate absorber, so it will not acquire that high temperature. So in this figure you can see that T1 is greater than T2. So this will create a not isothermal condition, an isothermal. So what will happen, this red one which is poor absorber material, this will also get heated up. So there are several reports on the heating of material which are kind of absorber. So with a combination of absorber and moderate absorber, we can heat entire system because the small heat source are there inside the material itself. So this is sometimes it kind of enhances reaction kinetics also because of temperature gradient, huge temperature gradient within inside the sample itself. However, in the conventional method, this is a heating element, so heat is being transferred from the heating element to the material, so it takes time. Just now I mentioned, so kind of this IR radiation penetrates very small quantity only inside the sample, so it takes time to heat the entire sample. Only thin layer gets kind of heated, penetrated, and then it takes time to thermalize the material. So in case of microwave, due to the temperature gradient inside the material only, it's very efficient to improve. It creates temperature gradient and it stops and heats material very effectively. So let's move to further. This is about the isothermal and isothermal processing, which I just discussed now. So in conversion, it is basically isothermal. Isothermal means entire sample is at the same temperature. So kind of driving force for the material diffusion is just only very slow or no diffusion, because only concentration gradient is driving force. However, if we are applying microwave, that is, if we are creating an isothermal condition, here there will be two driving forces. The first one, that is the concentration difference, that is also there in the conventional. One additional factor is in the microwave, that is the temperature gradient. Just now we have seen that due to the different property of the material, two phases have different ability to absorb microwave and hence acquire different temperature. Now let's come to the modes of microwave processing. We have seen domestic oven in our houses. We have in fact most of us have used domestic microwave oven in our homes. So basically oven is a multi-mode applicator. What does it mean? As I mentioned in very first slide, that microwaves are electromagnetic radiation and they are composed of coupled electric and magnetic field. So in our domestic ovens, this both E and H fields are present. That's why this is known as a multi-mode. Both modes are present simultaneously inside the our oven or applicator. So this is very similar, familiar kind of diagram. So this is microwave source. If you see in your oven also at home, so this oven I'm using right now for the synthesis of different kind of material like iron oxide, graphene oxide. So very simple setup. No cost involved, not in like conventional one where high temperature furnaces are required. Here we can achieve high temperature just by tuning the properties of material or other parameters we will come to, or by creating anisothermal conditions or other things. So this is one thing. So here there is a rotating plate which rotates to kind of equalize your sample temperature. We keep our sample in home we keep our food over here, so microwave gets reflected from the metallic wall. Microwaves always get reflected from the metallic wall. This is very important. But nowadays powdered metal can be heated in the microwave. I'll come in a while why. So that's related to the skin depth. I'll explain it in a while. So this is multi-mode that we all are almost familiar with it because it is there in our home. Now let's come to the single mode. As I mentioned, the single mode means only E field or H field is present in one mode. So here a bit of trick is involved. In fact, we need to design waveguide where the field distribution is like this, that suppose if it is E field only, so at work we suppose if we are keeping our sample here or here, so at sample location only E field lines will be present. You can see here E field is maximum at this point. However, E field is 0 at this point. So at this point H field is maximum. Okay, so we can get this geometry by designing our cavity, means applicator. So there are basically three kind of microwave processing. First one is multi-mode, second one is single mode. In single mode it can be E field or H field. If it is E field, if you are having dielectric material, so definitely you will prefer E field. So the advantage of single mode is this: here the entire energy is distributed in E and H field. However, in single mode energy is either concentrated in E field or H field. So we can get very high field at sample location. So if your sample is moderate absorber, they also get heated to very high temperature, very high field at the sample location. Here you can see at E field, very high location, very high electric field. Similarly, in this position, your sample is having very high H field. So this is known as a H field processing, and this is known as a E field processing. So going further, let's go further. So this is the system which I have used during my PhD work. So this is basically multi-mode applicator. Both modes were present, and this is single mode applicator. So with the help of all waveguide, calculator and everything, here only one mode was at the center. This is H field. So at the center of this cavity only H field was maximum, and we kept our sample in quartz tube, and this quartz tube is going inside the applicator, and we can heat our sample in H field. Then there was one more assembly, similar kind of applicator was there, that was designed for maximum E field. So generally we use that E field applicator for the dielectric material, this H field applicator for the magnetic material. And then so moving further, heating profile in single mode microwave resonant cavity. Just now I mentioned that in single mode modes, cavities are designed to enhance the electric field or field intensity at workpiece location. So here, due to very high field, heating rate is very high. Again here some plots you can see, that is between the temperature and time, and we can see that in very short time, just in few seconds, 100 seconds, temperature rises from room temperature to 900 degrees centigrade. So initially when there was 370, power applied was 370, and this power varied just to, because as the temperature is, sample is heating, its properties are changing, electric as well as magnetic property. So heating profile gets changes. So once it reaches optimum temperature, we brought down the power. So then again, I'll be coming to the microwave assisted synthesis of different kind of material. First one is microwave assisted reduction, and then hydration of nitrides, and transparent ceramics synthesis of transparent synthesis, and then decrystallization of oxide. It is very important for defense application, inorganic synthesis, organic synthesis, and I'll be discussing some selected example of synthesis of functional materials for different various applications. So let's come to the microwave assisted reduction. Basically, a group of Zidane, they have kind of they have reduced graphene oxide with the help of microwaves. The group kind of reported microwave assisted reduction of graphene oxide that was dispersed in DMSO solvent. DMSO solvent, as I mentioned, it's a very good absorber of microwave. So basically this solvent with very high microwave capability, the reduction degree of the same sample prepared for 2 minutes under microwave radiation at 1200 power is even much higher than that of the sample derived from if you see, this is a sample which is prepared through the conventional way in 12 hours, and if you compare, this is your starting graphene oxide. So in just in 2 minutes, entire graphene oxide is reduced to reduced graphene oxide. However, in conventional method, it took 12 hours, and just imagine about the energy, how much energy consumption was there. On the contrary, microwave just in 2 minutes gave the same result. So this is very interesting to know that conventional processing took 7 hours to get the reduced oxide. This is just the kind of inherent feature of the sample. So here it's seen. So this is your graphene oxide dissolved in DMSO and then processed for 2 minutes in microwave at 1200 watt. And this we can do in our domestic oven as well. So very simple setup and very less power consumption. However, in conventional method, it took 12 hours at 180 degrees centigrade. So such a huge difference between the time as well as power. Now let's come to the hydration of nitriles. So the kind of hydration of nitrile is a most economical atom kind of efficient and green synthetic approach for the production of valuable amount of amide molecule, and this amide molecule is having very much importance as chemical intermediates in pharma and chemical industry. So the traditional method which are being used for the hydration of this nitrile are generally they use acid and base, and they have their own limitation. However, just with the help of microwave, we can kind of go for hydration of nitriles just in a temperature of 130 degrees centigrade. Here I am reporting some work from Kumar's group. So they have used polystyrene supported gold nanoparticle as a catalyst and process sample at 130 degrees centigrade in microwave for the hydration of nitriles. So this is one more very interesting kind of chemistry, microwave chemistry for the hydration of nitrile by microwave method. Against the conventional method, it's cheap as well as it doesn't involve use of acid and bases. So let's come to the synthesis of transparent ceramics. So Agrawal from Agrawal's group from Pennsylvania State University, they are leading in the microwave chemistry of the material or processing of the material. I'll say microwave processing of the material. As I mentioned, microwave processing is a broader term and microwave chemistry is a domain of that broader term. So they have synthesized transparent material using microwave sintering method, kind of doped alumina, ruby, alon, they call it alon or aluminum nitride. So here in the picture you can see that compound they have given its name alon, means aluminum oxide and then aluminum nitride. So aluminum nitride you can see here, this is all transparent. Similarly, and doped aluminum oxide is transparent. So this transparent material can be synthesized by, they have tremendous application in different applications, kind of windows and all. So this is one achievement using microwaves. Now let's come to the decrystallization of oxide. So during my stay at IIT Delhi as a project scientist, I was employed as a project scientist in DRDO project. So objective was kind of formation of or synthesis of soft ferrite using microwave energy. So basically requirement for the ferrites was that the soft ferrites are having tremendous application in defense industry, kind of data storage and camouflaging the targets. So let's go ahead. Then we have synthesized series of barium hexaferrite at temperature of 1000 degrees centigrade for 5 hours by conventional solid state reaction method, and then we have processed the sample which was synthesized at temperature of 1000 degrees centigrade for 5 hours, sintered at 1000 degrees centigrade for 5 hours. We process the sample under microwave for different time and at different temperature. So what we obtain, the at 1000 degree for 2 minutes entire oxide structure was decrystallized. So most of the peaks were disappear now. This is the kind of this sample that is kind of processed at 1000 degree for 2 minutes. So the ferrite, that hard ferrite, barium hexaferrite, all got decrystallized within few minutes, in 2 minutes at 1000 degrees centigrade. Then we measured its magnetic and this microstructure property. Here you can see the very well defined hexagonal facets. So this is all decrystallized. So striations are also seen if you see. So however, if we go for higher temperature, kind of 900 degrees centigrade, just merging of grains and signature of melting is also seen in sample, which are processed just for 5 or 10 minutes. Now I'll be coming to the processing at 1000. We have seen no XRD peaks. So this is all striations are there, the signature of melting and kind of quenching of the sample from very high temperature, because the moment we switch off microwave power, it's kind of quenching, inherent quenching. So due to the quenching, the grain boundary kind of melted together. Here it's kind of some liquid is flowing, very interesting again. Then we took the kind of measured its magnetic property, and what we found that the microwave processing at higher temperature is has resulted in very softer ferrites which is having corrosive field of 2 millitesla. This you can see, this yellow one, corrosive field is very low, that is they are softer one 2 millitesla, and having very high specific magnetization. If you look, that is 52 EMU per gram. So this was tremendous kind of changes in the sample just in 2 minutes at 1000 degrees centigrade. I'm sorry, some problem with my laptop. So let's come to the inorganic synthesis. The results which I'm going to show, this is from my PhD work. So we synthesize silicon germanium alloy nanowire with help of H field processing. This we used H field of microwave. So at our workpiece location, H field was maximum. Just now I have shown the diagram in which E and H field was maximum at different work locations in cavity. So here we have gone silicon germanium alloy nanowire, and what we found, this was having core shell structure. So from HR10 we saw the core is very crystalline, that is silicon germanium alloy nanowire, and the spacing between the fringes was corresponding to the alloy nanowire. However, this express results reveal that there are some kind of oxide formation on the surface. So oxide is on the surface, and inside this is core, and the shell is a kind of to some extent it was oxide, and core was crystalline, that is was germanium alloy. And then we did EDEX measurement also, the same information we got from the EDEX also, and we took PL spectra, and what we found that this grown alloy nanowires very good emitters. So basically defects in oxide, they have resulted this kind of emission. Then we did some kind of modeling work to find out the origin behind absorption of microwave due to the by the semiconducting alloy sample. So this alloy starting particles of alloy were of random shape. Due to random shape on microwave interaction, they got different magnetic field induced, and due to this magnetic field induction, due following Faraday's law of induction, there was a circulating E field. So they behave like a dipoles. So this circulating atomic current and ohmic losses, basically interaction of microwave H field with diatomic atoms resulted in atomic currents and thereby make them to behave like a magnetic dipole. So before also I mentioned, if this magnetic dipole is kept in electromagnetic field, so they will try to follow the electromagnetic field, that is microwave field, and this atom they will kind of vibrate or follow the field. They will lose their energy in the form of heat. So this was a mechanism which was proposed by us to understand the heating of dimagnetic material, that is silicon and germanium. Now I'll be coming to the organic synthesis. This work is being done at my present university by one of my research student, Mr. Ashutosh Dubey. The manuscript preparation is on the way. So here what we have done, we started with graphite powder and then we have taken some oxidized agent mixed with intercalating agent, and all this mixed were processed in microwave for some time, and then we stirred it, and then with addition of S2O2 we found graphene oxide, and with addition to graphene oxide we synthesized. Once we got this graphene oxide, so this in fact objective of this work is to synthesize graphene oxide based magnetic composite for removal of heavy metal from groundwater. So once we got this graphene oxide, we dispersed in solvent, and then we prepared separately a solution which was containing lead, cadmium and chromium ion. We put that solution into this graphene oxide. So due to very high surface area, they got absorbed here. Now since it is magnetic in nature, here you can see this is single layer of graphene oxide, and this black part is magnetite, that is Fe3O4. It is magnetic in nature at room temperature. That's why this and in addition, this is graphene oxide is having kind of sheet like structure and having very high surface area. So this atoms or ions, they get absorbed over here. In addition, this graphene sheets are having magnetism in it. They can be collected with the help of magnet. So this is part of our kind of manuscript preparation. So we characterized it with the help of Raman spectroscopy as well as XRD. So we found very good phase formation for the graphene oxide as well as magnetite composite. So this final result will be published very soon. So now I'll be coming to the synthesis of functional materials. So different kind of functional material like functionally graded material and as well as some material which are useful for pharma industry can be synthesized, or our group is synthesized in our group. So first example I have taken from the microwave synthesis of iron oxide based nano drug carriers. So we synthesize this particle with the help of microwave energy. So initially we took starting precursors and then processed it for 10 minutes under microwave power at different power, kind of 180, 100, 450 watt, simply domestic microwave oven. Then we got iron oxide and we coated, after washing it, we coated it with different kind of amino acid, and then this coated material was loaded with drug and went for the testing of the drug delivery and encapsulation efficiency. MTT assay was performed on this drug loaded this iron oxide which was synthesized. We found it is super paramagnetic at room temperature, very low corrosive field. In addition, here we can see the crystallinity of the synthesized spions were very good. Here I have shown SAT pattern of two spions which is synthesized at different power. This is first one is at 450 power and second one is 800 power, and in addition the size of spions, that is super paramagnetic iron oxide, they were very uniform, and so this is again added advantage of the microwave synthesis because they are of very much use for the as a nano drug carrier. Now I'll be coming to the microwave synthesis of functionally graded materials for fusion devices. So in fusion devices, we'll be using tungsten as a plasma facing material because it's having very attractive property. Now this plasma facing material needs to be attached to some heat sink, that is copper, but the thermal expansion gradient of tungsten and copper is very different. So in order to, in between, we will be inserting tungsten copper functionally graded material. So here we have synthesized tungsten copper functionally graded material with the with the help of microwave energy. In conventional method, what is the problem? Since copper is having low melting point, so they form elephant kind of flag. So using microwave, immediate arrest can be taken. Once you switch off microwave power, so immediately melting can be stopped. We characterize this sample with the help of for hardness and their density. Both are important parameters. So we found that hardness is slowly increasing from copper side to tungsten side, and at the same time, if you see that kind of copper content is kind of here, this is the one part is copper content. As copper content is increasing, and on this scale this is hardness, so we found the overall density of this functionally gated material has reached 87% of the theoretical density. And the Vickers hardness measurement, here you can see the indentation marks on the sample at different locations. From here we calculated the hardness value. So hardness of the sample increases as the copper content is decreasing, or we can say tungsten content is increasing, or vice versa. So let's come to the another class of functionally graded material, that is dilute magnetic semiconductor. These materials are having tremendous application in spintronics. So we synthesized zinc oxide doped with cobalt, and we found a room temperature induced ferromagnetism in this zinc oxide doped with cobalt. So this is VSM data which is showing very small this coercivity field, that is 4 millitesla, and very good value of saturation magnetization, that is 0.6 EMU per gram. So this kind of magnetism is induced in zinc oxide with the help of copper doping. So the induction of this room temperature ferromagnetic is not due to the cobalt cluster, because we did XPS measurement and we found there were no cobalt clusters. So basically this is attributed to the induction of magnetism due to the bound magnetic pole RON. This is generally very proposed mechanism for the induction of ferromagnetism in the case of zinc oxide doped with the cobalt. However, there are a lot of controversies going on still on this stage also. So now let's coming to its industrial applications of microwave. It's having tremendous applications in industry. For example, first we'll be coming to the cutting tool. So this cutting tools, this is again synthesized from the by Agrawal and group, and what they have found, they have kind of sintered different tungsten carbide and cobalt based cutting tool with the help of microwave, and these are the some pictures of that cutting tools. You can see here small parts and then some different kind of shape and parts. They all were kind of sintered with the help of microwave energy. What were the finding? That weight loss of the microwave sintered parts was more than 7 times less, because this is very fast. So that evaporation of the material is less. Kind of in zinc oxide also, if we go by the conventional method, so zinc gets evaporated, and that leads to non-stoichiometric compound. So here is stoichiometry. This is again very important feature of the microwave, that stoichiometry of the compound can be maintained. So this microwave center part had about 25% better erosion resistance as compared to conventional centered cutting tools. Now third one is that they were better performer in the abrasion test, and the hardness test result revealed that they are 10% harder than the conventionally sintered parts. Now, what was the reason behind that? The microstructure of this microwave center part is much finer in grain size. That's why they harder. So once the grain size is decreasing, they follow Hall patch relationship. So hardness increases as the grain size decreases, because as the grain size is decreasing, so there is an interference of dislocation which increases hardness. So overall performance of this microwave process drilling or cutting tools are better than their counterpart, which are synthesized by conventional methods. Now coming to the next part, that is, now they are having tremendous application in matchbox drying. Why? During matchbox drying they have some chemical, that is water based chemical, striking surface applied by printing. So there is a RF unit which can dry this printed emulsion at the rate of 15 boxes per minute. So here the energy cost is only 1/6 of the conventional way, and that's why this is very frequently that RF dryer is very frequently used for the matchbox drying. Next is here I have shown a high temperature furnace, that is for the continuous production of microwave. This is now fully functional at New York National Material Innovation Center, and this picture is a bit old, that is taken in September 2010. This same kind of furnace can be used for the synthesis of carbon nanotube, very high purity, because we are just going to use ingredient and that's all there, and quartz. So very high quality purity carbon nanotubes can be produced. Then I'll be coming to the other furnaces which are available in the market. Here I have shown one furnace which can be used for ceramics, such as zirconia. Zirconia is very much used by the dentists for crown and bridges. So this kind of ceramics can be used by using microwave furnace, 1.4 kilowatt I have shown here. So, and then top right you can see that is the belt conveyor microwave furnace. This is again for industrial application. Lin Haitham is very renowned kind of suppliers of the microwaves across the globe. In India there are Energy Microwave Systems and Pradeep Metals, they are also supplying this kind of furnaces. So this microwave can also be used for joining and brazing of the component, because this is selective. Here you can see this is a kind of SS and then cast iron. So since being specific, material is specific, this will heat just this part of the sample. So, and microstructure of other part can be kept intact. However, just joining part can be focused and can be joined and braced together. So, this is having tremendous application in industrial kind of heat joining of steel to iron and other things also. So, I'll be coming to the next. Now, these are some milestones which is achieved using microwave energy. Here in the picture which is shown at left corner upside, there is it's a 1 kg 20 centimeter high pure alumina ceramic specimen which is sintered in a 30 gigahertz gyrotron system. So the sintering temperature was 1600 degrees centigrade with hold time of just 20 minutes. So and power was kept 4 kilowatt. So this sintered very good density. This is again from the lab of Dr. Agrawal from Pennsylvania State University. On right top corner you can see the density of this barium magnesium titanate. So that this is the most refractory perovskite material which is having melting point more than 3000 degrees centigrade. A very good refractory material. So refractory material can also be sintered by using microwave energy. So these are some milestone which is achieved by the microwave sintering. Now let's come to the energy efficiency, because any technology is driven by the cost and effectiveness and how rapid it is. So the specific energy consumption in the process of microwave sintering of alumina based ceramic at temperature of 1600 degrees C is just 4 kilowatt hour per kg. However, for this is for microwave heating system against 59 kilowatt hour per kg for conventional method. Similarly, there are other numbers also, kind of for silica nitride based ceramic. The specific energy consumption is just 3 kilowatt hour per kg for 2 hours in microwave sintering against 20 kilowatt hour per kg for 12 hours in conventional methods. And then we'll come to the PTC ceramic that are useful in the household and industrial heating devices. They can be sintered at relatively low temperature, that is of just 12-25 degrees centigrade, and that too in 15 minutes. So here also the specific energy consumption is very low against conventional method. So all this makes microwave this thing very. So moving over, this was all about energy efficiency. If we come to the broader spectrum of microwave processing, so we can process material starting from insulator to metals. So this is being in use since 1940 for different industrial applications, for example, rubber vulcanization, food processing, drying agriculture products, pharmaceutical and wood curing, etc. These days also they are being used for the food processing and drying of agriculture products. And high temperature application of microwave start after Sutton discovered in 1975 that microwave can heat the ceramics. So this was breakthrough in microwave processing for materials processing. Uh, as listed here, that ceramics which are composed of kind of alumina, zirconia, translucent mullite and aluminum nitride, silicon nitride, or transparent or hydroxyapatite. This is again very important material for dentists for making bridges and crowns. And then PJT, ZNO, etc. And then composite kind of cutting tools, tungsten carbide, cobalt, some superconductor YAGT, and then some boride, etc. Microwave can also be used for the processing of polymers, kind of, for example, polyurethane, etc. And the most important and interesting feature is that even metallic powder can be heated in microwaves. We have discussed skin depth. So what we realize there are that if generally in domestic microwave oven, it is suggested not to use metal part because metal kind of reflects microwave. So there can be some spark. So there is always suggested that don't use metal parts in microwave. But here the main important discovery is that even metallic powder, metals can be heated in the microwave, but in powder form. When they are in the powder form, the powder should be having some size which is less than the skin depth of that metal. So what will happen if we take, for example, suppose this is your metal powder and a skin depth, it is of comparable of the skin depth, so your microwave will penetrate and it will absorb the microwave, so it will not get reflected. So important thing, it should be in the powder form, and that too its powder size should be smaller than the or comparable to the skin depth. So this can be used for the iron industry or steel making. In Japan there is a big plot known as big kind of furnace that is known as a tatara, which is used for the manufacturing of steel plant. So similarly, this microwave just now, since it is selective in nature, this can be focused to some very specific area, especially when we are joining some two materials. So selectively they can be focused to that part, and efficiently that part can be braced or joined. And this is very much of use for the alloy development. As we have developed different kind of alloy. Like in our PhD, we have developed silicon germanium alloy even at temperature of 900 degrees centigrade and just in 10 minutes. However, if we go by the phase diagram, it is not possible to synthesize silicon germanium alloy at a temperature of 900 degrees centigrade. So this kind of breakthrough can be obtained using microwaves. So there are, other than this, there are tremendous application kind of sintering of tungsten based material or cobalt powder, or some coating can be sintered even. So now the most important thing, some materials are poor absorber. So what we can do for the poor absorber? So we can go for hybrid technique. What are the hybrid technique? This hybrid techniques involve utilization of microwave energy plus conventional sources. Suppose we have something which is not good absorber, some such as zirconia, we can mix it with some absorber, silicon carbide. So initially that will absorb microwave, and once its temperature rises, so the dielectric property of ceramic gets changed. At room temperature, they may not be microwave absorber, but once the temperature rises, they can be start absorbing microwave. So we can take help of conventional method. We can heat, let's say zirconia, we can heat up to some, let's say 400 500 degrees centigrade. At that temperature, the dielectric or materials property will get changed. So it is there's much very much possibility that material itself will start absorbing microwave. So by using hybrid technique, even material which are bad absorber of microwave, they can be heated. There are other techniques also, for example laser. We can focus laser on the some part, let's say some joining material. So laser can be focused there, and then temperature of that particular part will rises up, and then it will start absorbing microwave. In this way it can be heated up. So there is tremendous possibility all over the material science or chemistry, that material can be designed in different way. Now there are some ambiguity as well in microwave processing of material. Why it increases reaction kinetics? So there are again debates going on, that is known as a non-thermal microwave effect. So in generally in day-to-day life in conventional chemistry, these are thermal effect which enhances. So suppose if increase temperature, there can be increase in the reaction kinetics, but why it is there in the microwave? So generally presence of microwave field enhances reaction rates and all. So this is known as a non-thermal effect and microwave effect. This is still under study and opens very wide spectrum of research in microwave processing or designing of technique furnaces. So different kind of furnaces can be designed depending upon our requirement. So again it's opening different kind of research area, that is microwave processing of material, and all the material is starting from the insulator to metal can be heated just by tuning the material property or by tuning our machine requirement. So this was all about that is microwave processing as I mentioned. So by using this microwave chemistry, altogether chemistry can be enhanced. In chemistry generally selection of solvents are very important, like water. Generally we select water as a solvent, like in our almost in all of our my work I have selected water as a solvent because water absorbs microwave. So basically microwave causes excite transitions among the rotational energy state. This is how microwave is being absorbed by water or by other solvent. Most of the molecule is having rotational or vibrational energy level in this region. That's why they very efficiently absorb microwave. So this is all about microwave chemistry and its application. This is not here. It's not full stop. Lot many new possibilities can be seen, like in synthesis of reduced graphene oxide. It is found that reduced oxide graphene oxide can be reduced just in 1 or 2 minutes against conventional method, which was taking kind of 12 or sometimes 16 hours with use of very harmful chemicals. However, in microwave reduction, this use of chemical can be avoided because we are utilizing microwave energy for uh, for kind of improving our reaction kinetics and reduction as well. So without using very strong reducing agent, we can uh, kind of reduce our graphene oxide. Similar, many more examples are there. So if you are interested, I can provide uh, you this whole bulk of literature. So you can find my email ID over this website, and you can write me anytime for any further query. So this was all about, and thank you very much for patience hearing. This is again one more picture, very interesting picture. I always keep it in the last. This I got kind of octopus kind of group during my PhD work. So in fact, we explained it very beautifully through the induction of circulatory atomic current. So this is all about today's talk. And thanks once again for kind listening and patience listening. Thank you all. If any cooperation or any collaboration, if you want, I am ready for this. Thank you.
It was very nice and informative session for all. Thank you very much once again.